publishers of How to Make America Utopia, Take Away the Economy from Those Who Rigged It, As I See It, Class Warfare, The Only Resort to Right-Wing Doom, It's Worth It, How to Talk to Your Right-Wing Relatives, Friends, and Neighbors, and other books written by Egberto Willis. Welcome to Politics Done Right. My name is Egberto Willis, your host. Good morning, Houston. Good morning, Harris County. Good morning to the great state of Texas. Good morning to Northeast Texas, Southeast Texas, Northwest Louisiana, Southwest Louisiana, to every nook and cranny receiving the signals from our 100,000 watt transmitter. How's everybody doing today? Good morning to the entire world who receives us through the magic of the internet, formerly known as ARPANET, created by whom? You. Well, look, we got a lot to talk about, so I want to kind of get it on quickly. But beforehand, let's go to Los Genios, the geniuses, in el estudio, in the studio. Good morning, hermanos. How are you guys doing this morning?
Jack, get out of that cranny. Hurry up. Egberto's calling for you.
Good morning, Egberto. It's
Good
Monday.
morning.
It's Tuesday morning at the radio. And well, okay, Jack is settling in. He was stuck in his cranny. I had to go help him out.
I had to name this chair the cranny.
Yeah, my eyes were stuck this morning. They didn't want to open, so I have no brain activity going on. And of course, the audience will say, "You never did," but you know, what do they know? Jack, you got some wisdom there for us. Let's hear it.
Yeah, good morning, Egberto. How are you?
I am doing fine, brother. Talk to me, man. Talk to me. Give me that wisdom.
Okay, this is about fascism. Fascism is just corporate government. It's about an economic model that enriches and empowers the already wealthy who seek to create empire off the backs of the people with military force. For the people to combat this, they have to stop spending. Quit paying the people who are enslaving you. Cut their pay. Stop or reduce the amount of goods and services you use. Here's how to reform the healthcare industrial complex in 6 months. Cancel your insurance. Stop the deduction. Quit sending that premium in. You have to jump off before you can land. Yes, it's a risk, but to big healthcare, you're just a revenue stream. Morally, they have no respect for you. Take your insurance companies and their politics of profit out from between the doctor and the patient, period. Exclamation point.
Big exclamation point.
Yes.
I love it, brother. I love it. Let me tell you. Yesterday, of course, the guy who killed the CEO of United Healthcare got caught. I think he really wanted to get caught because apparently he also had a manifesto. He also had the gun that did the job. He also had the same licenses, etc., that he used. You know, anybody who didn't want to get caught would have rid themselves of all those things a long time ago. But anyhow, before I get
Sounds like a
started,
crusader.
yeah, yeah, and you know we have to be careful the way we say that. But I'm going to talk about that in what I think is going to be the right context. And you know, first of all, let me just say what the program is called. The program today is called Crypto Scam. You know, the crypto industry has a new thing that they want to do. So maybe we'll get to that. Then I have the violence of corporate greed and power. And that ties into a lot of what you had to say, my brother, as well as 62% of Americans want guaranteed health care. But I really, really want to start today with uh, the with the perpetrator of the murder of the United Healthcare guy, Luigi Mangione. You know, to some, he is sort of a representation of what's occurring in healthcare in a lot of ways. And I want to start it this way. Mr. Mangione is a murderer. Mr. Mangione effected premeditated murder. He cased the guy. He waited on that man to be in a position where he could take him out. That's what he did to Brian Thompson, United Health CEO. And the mainstream media would have you throw the angst at this guy. They would have you hate this guy. They will go ahead and condemn all those tweets and social media messages where that guy, people pretty much made fun of. Did he get shot by a bullet or was that a pre existing condition? As absurd as that sound, they wanted you to think that was that those people who had those thoughts about this incident were degenerates. Because here it is, Mr. Luigi Mangione, a valedictorian in his class, a a engineer or a computer scientist with a master's. He effected a murder, and the mainstream media just wants you to look at person kills an innocent person who has a family and dies. And for that, Mr. Luigi Mangione is an evil person. He's a killer. He's a murderer. He committed a crime. All of that's true. Why is it that the mainstream media, when the Texas legislature denies care, why is it that that the mainstream media, when the Texas legislature looks at Texans that are dying, hundreds every day, because the Texas legislature did not accept the Medicaid expansion to the Affordable Care Act affects the deaths of many of your fellow Texans. Why is it that the mainstream media doesn't look at it as callous, as killing people? Because they just chose not to. We know the result of that law of not accepting the Medicaid expansion to the Affordable Care Act causes death. It kills not one person with a family, but hundreds of Texans with families. Why is it that we don't have that same angst by the mainstream media when every family that loses a loved one dies unnecessarily because the Texas Republican legislature decided to say no to the Medicaid expansion to the Affordable Care Act that is available right now if they chose to say yes? It'll cost them less than it costs them now for those who continue to get saved, but they say no. The Republican Texas legislature has caused the death of Texans. They've caused the closure of hospitals. They've caused people who would otherwise have lived in an accident to have to travel over an hour for care because they said no to the Medicaid expansion to the Affordable Care Act. But my brothers and sisters in rural America, they don't know about that. They don't realize that the people they're voting for is killing them. Where is the media? Where are the Democrats going into these areas and telling these people, hey, the murderers are up there in Austin, just like Luigi Mangione is a murderer who killed an innocent man because of health care. So are those who are denying you health care. Why don't we frame it the way it must be framed? Why don't we do our jobs in the media and frame it the way it should? So that part is government. We have a Texas government, unlike the New York government, unlike the Louisiana government, unlike the California government, unlike the government in Washington, the government in Oregon. They've accepted the Medicaid expansion to the Affordable Care Act to keep their people alive. They are not murdering their people by neglect, murdering their people because of ideology. Why isn't the media framing it the way they frame Luigi Mangione as a murderer for a cause? But let's take it one step further. Why is it that the mainstream media doesn't call up Aetna, doesn't call up Cigna, doesn't call up United Healthcare and say and point to them that the denial of service by algorithms, it's not all done by people. In order to maximize profits, they know how to deny services, deny medicines, deny all these things to their insured. Why is it that the mainstream media doesn't call out all the dead people waiting on approvals, waiting on pre-screening, waiting on all these issues that the private companies, the private insurance companies are saying, let's wait a while. No, those are hundreds of thousands of deaths that occurred because of that behavior. Not one. Luigi Mangione killed one person, and he should be held accountable for killing that one person. I wrote a paper for Daily Kos several years ago where I said we should be holding politicians for neglect, for involuntary, or for that matter, voluntary manslaughter. Texas Republicans, Congresspeople's representatives should be arrested for, in my opinion, they should be arrested for voluntary manslaughter because, again, the denial of service by our Texas legislature caused death. The CEOs and executives of insurance companies should be held as well for homicide. Again, it's not that knowing not giving the services won't give you death. We know it. So therefore, it's not negligent homicide. It is definitely voluntary manslaughter. I mean, we have to realize that words matter. Framing of what's happening matters. It matters how things are framed, because we can make something that is done that is really, really bad. Invading Panama for freedom sounds good, but invading Panama and killing a whole lot of people to get one person who was actually supplying a need that Americans have is a different story when framed that way. That's just an aside there. As you can see, I still feel that dread of having been invaded and killing many of the fellow people you grew up with. Framing is important, folks. And when we allow the mainstream media, who is paid for by the corporatocracy, by the insurance industry, etc., when we allow them to frame what Luigi Mangione did as different than what Mr. Brian Thompson does or did with respect to denial of services that caused the death of many, we're making Luigi Mangione less evil or more evil than was Brian Thompson, who killed many people. Not one, not two, not three, thousands. Framing a discussion honestly, framing a discussion the way it really is important if Americans are going to learn to vote their interests, if Americans are going to learn to see things the way they really are. And until we get there, we will continue to have the class warfare that we have. Until we get there, we'll continue to do things in a manner that screws us all. So, folks, this one story with Luigi Mangione unaliving Mr. Brian Thompson shouldn't end there. It shouldn't end that some young man, some very smart young man, unalived a CEO. That's not the story. Because that CEO indirectly unalived thousands. Who is more evil? Please tell me. Am I wrong? I am absolutely sure that I'm not. Let's go to Johnny.
Not surprisingly theoretical, good Tuesday morning to you and the KPFT crew. So, being that it's theoretical, let's not forget, those prosecutors in New York and across America, be advised, gentlemen, that everything is theoretical, including the possibility that if you decide to prosecute someone like that, you're going to have to deal with the very real possibility of jury nullification. Because let me tell you something, I'm a lib. And if I were on that jury, I would give that guy a pass. I don't care if the guy who shot him was a Republican, a Democrat, independent, whatever. What's right is right. And we have to assume justice seeks its natural level like water. And we don't have that right now. And you guys need to wake up. Unlike the politicians like Joe Biden and Donald Trump and Barack Obama, these people are all technically war criminals. If you're going to prosecute that guy for shooting the executive health, so-called health insurance executive, if you're going to prosecute that guy, you all had better prosecute Barack Obama, Donald Trump, and Joe Biden. You're not going to do that. So I would suggest you decline prosecution.
You know, it's interesting. I've heard that quite often in some of the messages that I get, and you know, we are eventually when society reaches a certain level of unfairness, when society reaches a certain level of depravity, uh, the natural self-defense mechanisms kick in. And you know, one of the things that we fear is if we don't take the bull by the horns early on, that there will be a lot of Luigi Mangionis out there. Okay,
Can I ask you something?
go ahead, please.
How many times in the past few months in our conversations, me and you and me and the guy on the next show, Michael, how many times have I brought up the idea as one of the things that we need for remediation from our people in politics is to prosecute and criminally investigate and prosecute Wall Street banksters? How
Oh
many
yeah,
times have I said
every time, every
that?
time. Look, it is important. Look, you're absolute. Look, when Obama let off those criminals, okay, and let off the criminals by simply not prosecuting two different two different systems, right? Two different criminal systems. Look, when we let off Donald Trump Donald Trump should have thrown into the gulag from the day on January 7th. He should have been thrown into jail. Okay. Uh, the thing about it, there are two different criminal justice. Well, actually three, but we can go into that some other time. Three different justice systems in this country. And again, eventually, when they get out of balance, people unravel. And I would really like to hear Mr. Luigi Mangione, I would really like to hear about the screws in his neck, about being 26 and being removed from the insurance of his parents. I want to hear that story. But the reason
I
I
want
want
him
to
to
hear,
write a
go ahead.
I want him to write a book, and I want him to be interviewed in the legacy media, and I want the politicians who are running for office from this point forward to demand as part of their platform when they go stump speeching to say that they will include an effort, a Manhattan Project-style effort to not only criminally investigate and prosecute and incarcerate Wall Street criminals, but also to identify and dismiss white nationalists in our military and law enforcement.
Yeah, and yeah, look, I'm not gonna argue with that at all. The thing about it, Johnny, is if you take a look at of what's going on in society today, you have to wonder how many of these things. I mean, we don't, technically speaking, we don't want these things to occur. We want to have some level of civility and law. But how long will people allow what the corporate, I mean, if you take a look at how it was advertised on TV, oh, we hate even the police, right? The police, which is an agent of the corporatocracy in all respects, they came out and the way they attacked Mangione as being very anti-corporatist. Well, guess what? Most Americans are. And you know why they are? Because if you take a look at what these people do to the average American citizen, so there's nothing special about saying this dude is anti-corporatist. It's nothing special. Anyway, anything else, Jen, before I jump to tag?
What's the bottom line? The takeaway here is if the authorities want to discourage this further kind of vigilantism, they need to do what I just suggested a moment ago. They need to start applying the law to those whose law needs to be applied to, not just go after the small guy. Start prosecuting Wall Street criminals and the like that. That's how you stop this.
Well, yeah, you have to, exactly. Look, thank you very much, Johnny.
Otherwise, you have more healthcare insurance industry guys still deny healthcare to people and still rip them off.
Yeah, well, you know what is so funny? What did United Healthcare do? They didn't come out with a statement and say, look, this shouldn't happen. Going forward, we do need to have some reforms, etc. That's not what they did. They they put armor around their buildings, and now the insurance executives will be walking around with security. I have cousins that do that kind of job right now, and all the billionaires, they actually are security for billionaires, etc. And it's amazing. So what we're going to have is these people who can only live in their gated communities and walk around with social security. So in effect, to be very, very rich, they will live in their own jails. But thank you very much, Johnny.
They're telling us that they know they're guilty by that action. That's how we know they're guilty, and we're right. We're righteous.
Thank you, brother. Have a great one, my brother. All right, let's go to Tag. Come on in, Tag.
Hey, Egberto.
Good morning, my brother.
Good morning to you, my friend. Mankind has a basic disregard for life right now. A lot of people do. And I think this is what comes down with this United Healthcare issue. Is it the life of one or the life of many? And there's a basic disregard here. But I see a little bigger picture, and that picture, I hate to kind of swerve off the road you're on, but look at what's happened in Syria, and without the backing of Russia, this dictator who's killed so many people is gone basically,
Hmm.
and then we have this guy that's just been voted into office, and he's saying that, well, if NATO pays their fair share, that he'll support NATO. Well, it's like, you know what? If we didn't have this problem with Russia, there would be no need for all this defense. And that's where the basic disregard for life comes from, is with a guy like Putin just worldwide killing people. I mean, it's just absurd. And then we have somebody like Trump come along and say, well, you've got to up the ante here to defend yourself against Putin. No, and we don't need to defend ourselves against United Healthcare either. We just need to have more people that respect life on this planet. And so that's kind of where I'm going. We need to make some basic changes, and you can kind of see it happening right now. Which way it's going to go, we don't know. So
What is
that's what I
interesting,
had.
Tag, you touch on two things. You touch on both healthcare and you touch on international politics. Let me hit you up on the international politics first so we can get back to healthcare. But on international politics and CDA, etc., right? First of all, it behooves me why in the interview with Donald Trump, people let Donald Trump get away with saying pretty respectfully, but pretty stupid things. First of all, it's nothing. It has nothing to do with NATO paying their fair share. It's about the deal is not about NATO paying a damn thing. The deal is what percentage of their GDP is spent on defense. That's what NATO is responsible. Each country, I think, 2% of their GDP should be spent on defense. That's the deal that they made. Nobody pays anything to anybody. The second thing is that they let him get away with things like tariffs. The other country pays the tariffs and all of that, and they don't give any real pushback. Make no sense. Now, when it comes to healthcare, the answer is simple, and people have already said that they want it. 62% of Americans want the government to ensure healthcare. What is government insured healthcare? Medicare for all. 62% of Americans, 33% of Republicans, 90% of Democrats, over 50% of independents. So the majority of people want to get rid of this private healthcare system that we have that is killing people. They're killing hundred. Mangione killed one. It's a bad thing. But the insurance companies, which we should be reporting it as such, kills hundreds of thousands of people every year. Thank you very much, Tag. Anything else quickly before I jump to Patrick?
Yeah, it's just a matter of whether you're going to go direct to the problem or you're going to go around the problem. Like with healthcare, you're going around the problem. The hospitals need the money, not the healthcare people.
Hmm.
And we don't need all this defense buildup. We just need to get rid of Putin, and we'd all be a lot better off, I think. So thanks, Egberto. Have a good day.
Thank you, brother. All right, let's first of all, folks, the number is 281, I mean 713-526-5738. Again, that is 713-526-5738. Come on in, Patrick.
Hey, good morning. How are you?
Good morning, brother. Talk to me.
Hey, I don't know if you noticed it, or maybe I even misunderstood, and I apologize to this person if I did. But in the feed yesterday, when we were talking about how we understood what happened with Mangione, we weren't justifying it or anything. We had somebody that was saying to you, "There's no killing somebody is never okay," and that was said over and over. And then when we started talking about the person that was strangled to death on the subway,
Right.
Penny, I think it was Michael Jackson,
Mhm.
he was justifying his death because he was violent towards an elderly person, and he was had psychotic events.
Right.
So he couldn't see the killing a CEO, but he was totally fine having somebody strangled to death on a subway.
The
So
person that
kind
you're
of,
talking about is inconsistent. I mean, first of all, that person is a friend of mine, but I hate to say that he's racist. Okay, anytime it has anything to do with people of color, it is okay. The pattern is there. It's clear. The pattern is there in his responses, and I tell him that straight up. I mean, it was definitely there. But again, we have to live with the society that we've got. Anyway, continue, my brother.
Well, with that pointed out, a lot of people are doing things like that. A lot of people are trying to uh, uh, say that that they couldn't understand how a CEO could get killed. But then look at what it's done for us. In this society, it took somebody getting killed to even talk about this problem, and healthcare is a problem. And in quite a few states, what I want to ask is, if he was in Florida or in Texas, how would he not be standing his ground? Because in the future, he's going to be denied again, and it might take his life.
You know that is so what I mean. It's amazing, amazing that you remember when I said narrative is everything. If you go ahead and put stand in your ground, if you apply the stand your ground law, which says if somebody is there, if you believe somebody is hurting you, again, let's repeat. If you believe somebody is going to hurt you, you have the right of self-defense. Actually, believe it or not, I think that could be used in a stand your ground state, right? They like those kinds of laws, right? Well, those laws could be applied. I mean, I think what you've just said is novel.
I
I
mean,
mean that it's novel.
I don't see the difference at all.
Again, that's novel, brother, because the truth, if you follow the letter of the law, I mean, that is a novel idea. I mean, I hate acknowledging that, but that's the case, right?
That's pretty much all I wanted to point out, and just those are kind of the things I've been chewing on in the last couple of days. I'm not justifying what this guy did, but it's important to point out that United Healthcare was being investigated, and this guy might have known it, but I think we all know how that investigation would have gone. They would have gotten off with a slap of the wrist. So
Yeah.
if our class actually had justice representing it, people wouldn't be doing this.
Yeah. Look, like I said, the people who are going to make what Luigi Mangione did as a very bad thing. I mean, what he did is a bad thing. We are not trying to justify it at all. Let's be clear. But I mean, the same bad thing that is what Brian Thompson and his industry has done is much worse. Let's be clear. Narrative is everything. It is much worse. Mr. Mangione killed one person. Our health
I
insurance
believe that,
CEOs killed hundreds of thousands, if not millions. Go
and
ahead.
happy about it. I believe that the CEO that's taking over is taking the exact same stance as he said, that they would continue to fight against unnecessary health procedures. I don't know anybody that isn't trying to change their look on Instagram that's going in to have elective surgery. If somebody's going to have surgery, they need it.
There you go. I mean, you know what? It's so funny. Anthem. Think about. Let me show you how callous these guys are. Anthem had to go back on a policy. They thought it was going to be okay to have a policy that says, well, after X amount of time of anesthesia, hey, no more, baby. I mean, it's nuts. I mean, what these guys would do for profit, they're nuts. These are just people who came out of business school. When I tell you what business school teaches has nothing to do with reality, Patrick. What the Macomb Business School at the University of Texas and all these business schools, they are not very smart people. They're great at capitalism, but that's it. They know nothing about humanity. They know nothing about science. They know nothing about engineering. They know nothing about anything that really, really matters. They just know how to create instruments to make a buck at all cost. You want to know why? I will never consider myself a capitalist. And that's the reason why. And until we are able to, to enlighten people to what it's really about, We would stop having the faith. We would start having the respect for all these people that come out of these great business schools and are executives, because they're not the ones that make America work. You are. Thank you very much, Patrick. Let's go to Bruce. Come on in, Bruce.
Yeah, Alberto, I'm going to be a little bit off topic, but I want you to apply what I'm saying to the topic. And I'm
Sure.
going to talk about perspective. I remember when that submarine that was going down to the Titanic imploded. I knew
Right.
people that told me they couldn't sleep at night because they couldn't wait to get up and then see the next news cycle to see if it was okay or if something had happened. In that same news cycle, on the cable news, they had an elementary school targeted by Putin and kids having their legs blown off. They had a maternity hospital targeted by Putin, and they showed a woman carried out on a stretcher, all bloody, and they said she and the baby both died. No one was losing sleep over that. They were losing sleep over the rich kid in the sub. So apply that perspective to healthcare. It's all the kids are always the ones that suffer. In a refugee camp, they suffer. They're used to seeing an adult. When they're hungry, an adult feeds them. Or they're around a whole bunch of adults and nobody's feeding them. So not only physically are they damaged, but psychologically. So apply the perspective of healthcare in regards to kids, if you would, please.
Well, let me put it that way. I love that you brought that up, and that you brought that up in that fashion, right? And I'm going to twist it in a way, and I hope you see the connections I'm going to make here. It's called the gradation of value, okay? And whose lives we value, right? And we have learned implicitly to value people differently. We have learned implicitly to value the billionaire as if they have something one who sweeps the floor does not, or one who doesn't, have certain values. I don't know if you remember yesterday when Ray called in and we talked about unskilled labor, and I told about the chip on the shoulder and finally realizing that no labor is unskilled. People have different levels of knowledge based on what they want to do, etc. But we have this gradation not only of skills but of values, of humanity, etc. That guy who got killed on the subway, and the pain that we felt for the person who, look, the guy who killed the Michael Jackson looked like he didn't want to kill that guy, but he did. He held on to him longer than he needed to. He killed him. There should have been some sort of a, well, it's involuntary, but we have something called involuntary manslaughter. But the way society looks at it is like he had more value than the person he killed. The same applies to when America invaded Panama. The value of the Panamanians in El Chorrillo, and I was interviewed on that yesterday for the anniversary of that invasion, but the value of those people were less. So Bush doesn't have a problem blasting them to smithereens, but if one or two Americans got killed in Panama, it was a big issue. We go to Gaza. In Gaza, the people in Gaza, 40 something thousand people dead versus 1,500 Jewish people. None of them should be dead, but we look at the 44 million people, the 44,000 people, not as bad, not as bad dying as the 1,500 Jewish people. You just spoke about the Russians, the kids in the Russian place being killed, and the things most Americans were worried about is the next news cycle. What happened to the rich fat cats in the submarine, whether they died or not on their own volition? That is the mental problem that we all suffer because of narrative, because of how we learn things. So you're absolutely right, Bruce. And it's only showing us, putting that mirror in front of us, like you just did. It's only putting that mirror in front of us to let us look and say, oh my God, is that who we really are? Only when we see who we really are can we really change. And those are mirrors that you're putting in front of us, brother. Anything else, Bruce?
No, you answered my question. I just wanted your view on perspective, and you're spot on. Thank you very much for taking my call.
Thank you, brother. All right, let's go to brother Jimmy. Come on in, Jimmy.
Good morning, Egberto.
Hey,
On the
great. Hey,
issue of on the issue of Medicaid expansion, former county judge Ed Emmett told me that he had a meeting with Governor Greg Abbott to talk about it, and Abbott told him, if you bring up that subject, the meeting is over. So we can blame not Texas not getting Medicaid expansion on Governor Greg Abbott. And people need to write letters to the legislators, to newspapers, and so forth, and tell them we want Medicaid expansion. That's what we need to do. Now, the man who shot the United Healthcare CEO, he's going to spend the rest of his life in prison, and rightly so. You shouldn't go out there and murder people over an issue. You need to be nonviolent, like Mahatma Gandhi and Martin Luther King Jr. We need to stop the violence, stop the killing.
I agree with you that we need to stop the killing and we shouldn't have the violence. And I agree that there's a good likelihood he'll spend the rest of his day in jail. Although he comes from a rich family who knows, justice is given out differently in that regards. But I have a question for you, Jimmy, because I agree with you. We need to stop the killing. Are the health executives killing people?
Well, but they're going by whatever rules they have,
And who made those rules?
well, I guess I assume our legislators did, but
No,
yeah,
no.
they
I'm
need
talking
to
about who
provide
made
the
the
health
rules
care.
that
They
who,
need to provide the health care when people need it for sure. When they're already paying premiums for it.
right. So in other words, that the same should apply when you speak about Mr. Luigi Mangione not killing. The same should apply to the CEOs. They shouldn't kill either, right?
That's right, but you can't really say they're killing people. If people are dying of diseases and so forth, you don't know how much you're going to spend to save somebody that's already 90 years old.
No, but that's not what I
Hey,
mean. What I mean is, look, yeah, I understand what you're saying, right? But I mean, if I am about to have my appendix is about to blow, and some person getting pre-authorizations has the right to tell me no, that's causing my death, right? Even it's either voluntary manslaughter or involuntary manslaughter, right? In other
it
words,
could be, you would think that would be covered by your health insurance, so that
right.
they should help you with that appendix.
And that's my point. Again, my point is, I remember I said earlier when I started the discussion that narrative matters. We have learned how to make, we have learned how to allow certain killers to be free while other killers no. In other words, this guy is a killer with a gun. The insurance executives are killers with pens and denials, but they ultimately give the same results: dead people. But narrative
Well,
is
I
important.
think the insurance people are by and large doing what they should be doing, and that's helping people with their health care. But there are some cases when they deny it. I'm not sure when or why, but they should be.
Let me
They
just say
should
that,
be
there's some
supporting
cases that
health
you're
care
talking
for
about.
99% of the cases.
Let me just say, Jimmy, that there's some cases that you're talking about is 7 point something percent of denials, but that is because many doctors don't even submit because they know a denial is coming. So what I'm saying is, narrative is important, and I think it's important for us, in my humble opinion, to get the narrative right to ensure that we don't allow murderers to go free. And my contention is most insurance, I know it's a hard thing for you to accept, because in your case, for being so healthy as you are, you never have to see the bad side of an insurance company. You don't, because you're so darn healthy. I saw you on Saturday at the at our meeting at the Houston Peace and Justice Center uh, executive meeting. But you're so damn healthy, and you're an older dude. You don't see this, but a lot of folks do.
Well,
But
like I say, I would not call the insurance people murderers, but they need to
I
change
know.
the rules so
I
they
got
cover.
you. Brother,
They,
my brother, I understand you. You know I love you, man. But again, narrative is everything. Because if we can call the guy who used a gun a murderer, I think we should be able to call the person who used a pen murderer. Let's disagree on that one, but let's talk another time. All right, Jimmy?
Okay, Egberto, have a great day.
You too, my brother. All right, let's go to Augie. Come on in, Augie.
Wanted to add on to what Patrick had to say is that not just medical care is being denied, mental health care is also being denied.
Yes.
And bad things happen, but people never ask the question, why is it happening? It's happening because these politicians and the CEOs are denying our citizens medical care that they need and also mental health care. When George W. was governor, the second week, he probably went before the Austin chamber there and said, hey, I saved the state of Texas like $500,000. He shut down this nationally recognized mental health program in Tyler, Texas. And so the staff had to leave. There weren't any jobs for him here in Texas, so they had to go out of state. But the patients were still here. They were let out of their mental health facilities, and they're out in the street. And I happened to see that in Houston right after that. There were mental health people on Richmond and Montrose there that I never saw before and working many years in that area. All of a sudden, there's this lady, all in black, sitting on a concrete bus stop bench in the sunlight and the heat and humidity of summer. And then further on down, there's another lady, like a African American, and she just standing there in front of a bush watching traffic. And like that Marine that killed somebody in the subway, the guy that he killed had mental health problems. His way to take care of it was taking care of this guy and killing him. But they don't see that. I had a heart attack, and I have to have a stress test every year. So my last one, I was talking to the nurse, and she was telling me about her teenage son. He's got mental health problems, but she can't find anybody that can take care of him. The hospitals here, mental health facilities are being shut down. The parents of the Sandy Hook killers, the Columbine killers, their parents went on TV and said, we try to get mental health care for our kids who are killers, but there was nothing available for them. And that nurse that I talked to, she was a Republican. And I told her, well, the reason you can't get mental health care is because Republicans are denying not just medical care, but mental health care. And it's funny, after I talked to her, within less than a year, in the Chronicle, there was a story about a hospital here in Houston that had a mental health ward, but they had to shut it down because they stopped receiving state funding. So there's another hospital, another ward that's shutting down here in Texas, and they've been shutting down ever since Republicans took over our state house here in Texas. And I had a 98-year-old World War II vet, Korean War vet. He fell down and hit his head and was bleeding. I took him to the emergency room at Memorial Hospital, one of them, and it was full of people.
Look, I get it. You're so right. You're so right, Augie. The system, first of all, the healthcare system does not belong in the private sector, because if you have to deny care or reduce care because you need to make 20% profit, or in the case of private now, they can do 18% overhead now. That's a law. If you have to do that, it doesn't belong in the private sector. But I got a whole bunch of calls, Augie. I have to go ahead and get some more before we finish. So look, thank you, my brother, for the input the great input that you always has. All right.
Okay. And I want to say hi to two friends of mine. They heard me the last two times I came on, but they were busy doing something else. But last night they told me that they heard me talking on your show. So I just want to say hi to Mark and Kristen if they're listening.
Well, there you go, guys. Augie is family, folks. Let me just let you guys know that Augie is KPFT. Thank you, brother. Let's go to Sister Betty. Come on in, Betty.
Hey, good morning.
Talk to me, beautiful.
Yeah. Insurance company wants your money first. And then they say, give me your money first. You're old. You should be dead. And on the justice, You have these lawyers and prosecutors and judge get together and they make a deal like trade out the marijuana user and let the child molester go. Our Lady of Justice puts both hands on her mouth. Look at our coming president. I say I will cry tomorrow. Love you guys.
Thank you very much, sister. That was our one and only Betty. Anyway, we're going to go to Derek, but before Derek, I just want to say welcome to KPFT chat. Eric Hayes from Kingwood, Texas. Jay from I think Jay is from California. I think LA, California. We also have in the house Melanie Keelan from Barcelona, Spain. We also have Glenn Ryan. Glenn Ryan says, why promote Medicare for all at the same time support neoliberal candidates like Harris? You know she would not support Medicare for all. Let's bring that up on another day. You know I've always been a supporter of Medicare for all. Let's discuss that another day. Okay. Let's go to Derek. Come on in, Derek.
Hey, good morning,
Good
Berto
morning, my
and Bruce.
brother.
Quickly, Jimmy, man, all I got to say, man, God bless you, man. You trying to have a open, pure of heart, but wrong is wrong. We live in a very heartless, I would say, gun happy type situation here. He mentioned about Martin Luther King and Gandhi. Remember, both those men was killed violently. And I'm saying you don't want to say anything about what Alberto is saying, but the truth is there. You can kill with the pen, which the pen have killed more than the gun, to be honest with you, because the pen have killed men from within.
Yeah,
And
I mean, Derek, that is a point that I wanted to make to Jerry. Let me just I give one great defense for brother Jimmy. Jimmy is a very good guy, and Jimmy, Jimmy's a healthy, very older guy that is, I learned from Jimmy as well. Let me just say that. But I think Jimmy, in being very nice, really doesn't want to see the insurance companies for the evil that it is, because he himself is so healthy, even in his older age, that he doesn't really need them all that much, right? I mean, if you see Jimmy, if you know, you have to sit down and talk to Jimmy. He's a cool cat. I mean, he'll be. I mean, this guy moves. He's 90 something, and if you see him move, you'll be amazed. So that's where he's at, Patrick.
Yeah, I believe you. Thank you so much.
Derek, sorry. Go ahead, sir.
No, yes, sir. No, like I said, that's why I say he has. It seems to me, just listening to him, he has the pure of heart, and he's looking for the best.
Exactly.
But there's case here, it is no win-win or nobody's righteous. Trust me, the pen kills more because I'm a writer. It kills more, far more than what you may think. So thank you, brother, for taking my call.
Thank you very much, Derek. Let's go to Brian. Come on in, brother Brian. How you doing, sir?
Good. How are you?
I'm doing fine. Talk to me, brother.
Okay. Correct me if I'm wrong. This is your thinking, right? An illegal alien comes across the border, starts his own business as a landscaper. He invests his money a little bit. He needs another helper, so he hires another illegal alien. So he's making money off that man's back, right? Is that your thinking?
I think you misunderstand it completely. That I don't care. First of all, referring to this as an illegal alien, trying to mix you're trying to mix two concepts, completely wrong. But no, that's not the case. That's not making money on the person back, because guess what? That person who hired that other person, those are people who are self-made, and they're also contributing to society. My contention is that people like Elon Musk and Jeff Bezos, they are more parasites than they are contributing to society. Did they have any contribution to society at any given time? Yes. They've used the capitalist model, however, to become parasites. And over time, I think if you don't get that out of the writings that I do, etc., you won't get it. But thank you, Brian. I got one more call to get.
Never
Oh,
will.
go ahead,
I never
real quick,
will.
Brian. I got one more call. Go ahead, and I got to fit it in real quick.
There's no, yeah, there is no difference between Elon Musk or the illegal alien that comes over and hires another illegal
If
alien.
you don't see the sir, if you don't see the difference, you have a problem. But thank you very much, Brian. Let's go to Uma. Come on in, Uma.
Yes, good morning, Egberto. I'm so glad that you're talking about the insurance mafia that's prevalent in this country. And I'm so happy that you're, not trying to change the perspective, but actually giving them a perspective. Because most people that I talk to don't understand insurance and how corrupt this mafia is in this country. So, I'm glad that there's a conversation going, and I hope that this conversation goes forward because insurances really are killing people. There need to be major changes if this industry needs to, this industry basically needs an overhauling. Because it's not fair to the people that it's supposed to serve.
If I may add to that, Uma, you're absolutely right. In my humble opinion, that industry in healthcare doesn't need to be reformed. It needs to die.
That's true. I agree. I completely agree.
Thank you very much, Uma. I'm at a hard stop. Call me tomorrow, please. I love your insight. I really love your insight. Okay.
Thank you so much.
You have a wonderful day. Anyway, let me throw it to the studio.
Oh, nothing here. Just a very lively conversation as always. Jack, what you got?
You can kill more with a pen than you can with a gun. These CEOs are what they call discompassionate.
Thank you very much. I always have wisdom. Anyway, folks, you can get the rest of the show at politicsdoneright.com/newsletter. Again, the rest of the show, politicsdoneright.com/newsletter. Love you all, and I mean that from the depths of my heart. Thank you very much to the studio, of course, Van Beba and El Senora Reynolds. Anyway, my name is Egberto Willies. This is Politics Done Right, and you guys know how I end this baby. I am what? Out!
You're listening to the American Democracy Minute, keeping your government